people will often ask me, so I'm a pastor of regular people, and people love their pets. And so sometimes people's pets are put down, and these pets, I talked to one guy once, he said, yeah, my wife died a few years ago, but what really hurt was when my dog died. I just laughed. But so I'll go to people's houses, and they're going to put down their pet. And so some people say, Pastor, the pet doesn't have a soul. Okay. The pet is not an image bearer of God the way this person is. But to what degree has that pet become a part of this person's story? And therefore, in at least the Christian frame of reference, as I believe it, will via that relationship, that pet get pulled into the age to come? Well, what does that mean? Well, one of the reasons I believe so fiercely in the resurrection, there's this passage in Isaiah 60 where Israel has been dismantled by Babylon. The people are scattered all over the place. The vision of God's chosen people is a total train wreck. And Isaiah 60 has this beautiful poem of the lost children of Israel being brought back to their homeland in the arms of the kings of the nations. And when I think about how many people died to build the Great Wall? How many people died in armies around the world for the avarice of kings and emperors? How many people died small, miserable deaths that we can never know these people? There's a wonderful woman in my adult Sunday school class who was raised by her mother in the Deep South in the U.S. She was on a sharecropper's place. Her parents were probably slaves, or her grandparents. And one of the things that this woman came out of childhood from, she's now a senior citizen. Her mother would always say, God knows. God knows the people who were buried in the Great Wall. God knows the young girls who died early, ugly deaths of brutal prostitution in corners of the world that we never know. God knows the beauty of the amazing things that have been cooked by people whose civilizations are gone. God knows. Now you might say, well, Pastor, are you saying you're a universalist? No, I don't think universalism finally works out. What I am saying is that the Christian hope of resurrection is that justice will finally be done on this earth, and justice will come to the slaves of emperors and the people who have lived short, brutal lives at the expense of others, and the cultures of this world that we will never have time enough to taste in our 80 short years. God looks at them and claims, that's mine too. And I am not going to let it die. I am going to, in fact, keep it alive, because this is why I made the world. And why I'm a Christian is that I can't resist a story that good. And people can come at me and they can say, no, you shouldn't believe that. I think you can take your should and stick it wherever you want to. I am going to believe this story until my dying day, because it's the only way I can face this world of suffering. And so people can call me irresponsible, but when I think about, because I grew up in a place like Patterson, and I grew up with people in church, and I look around at these people in church and think, these people, this world has only given them pain, and they're just going to get more until we put them in the grave.
And no one will know about it.
No one will know about it. And if I can see this in the tiny little window that I see in the most affluent, comfortable, scalable places in human history. My gosh. So, and I think a God who made this, an antinatalist is way at one side and say, things shouldn't exist. But I say, I believe in a God of justice that will one day, and I can't explain how he would do it, he will one day redeem all of this in such a way that we can say its glory is greater because of the suffering. And that I see built into the Christian story. That is there suffering? Yes. Can we call it evil? Yes. All of that is true. But what happens at the cross and at the resurrection is that God says, I am able to take suffering and produce greater glory than if there had been no suffering. And we see this in movies, because if you went to a movie and everything was wonderful and everyone has a perfect life, and that's 3 hours of watching privileged people enjoy themselves, we'd leave there and say, I'm never going to do that again. Well, what do we watch? Same thing that angels long to look into, because the New Testament talks about, uses this word which is almost synonymous with sin, epithumia, and the Apostle Paul says angels can't take their eye. It's like angel internet porn, where God takes the worst story imaginable and makes it the greatest glory possible. And so that's angel porn. They watch it and it just keeps blowing their minds. And whenever in any moment this story reveals itself to me and I catch just a glimpse of it, to me maybe that's a drug, baby, and I am hooked, and I'm going to do that drug until the day I die. Maybe I'm a junkie. So I don't know. The problem is, you get a preacher in front of someone and you pull a string and he starts preaching at you, so forgive me.
Well, I mean,